is very frequented by this kind of accidents. As you can see, the major traffic here is trucks coming from both sides of the divide, either going to Nakuru County or heading to Uasin Gishu and all the way into Uganda. Most of these trucks carrying goods from as far as Mombasa. So the government will be represented here by the Kenya officials who are just coming to do a site analysis of that project that is expected to begin in January 2018. They say the government is going to construct a dual carriageway along this particular stretch of the road. So some of the questions that will be raised is how efficient will this dual carriage be? How is it going to be constructed? How much money is going into that project? And when will Kenyans start using or enjoying the dual carriageway? There's also the issue of some of the residents here who are saying that they are probably thinking of getting a different route for the trucks, just the way Nairobi County has done with the Southern Bypass, just to reduce traffic inside the central business district, and also to curb instances of accidents within Nairobi County. So those are some of the key issues that will be coming up. We know also Governor Kinu. The current governor for Nakuru County was also part of the NTSA before he resigned to join politics. So we are going to be asking him some of those questions. When he was at the NTSA, what did he do? What kind of changes did he bring? And now that he's in a different seat, how is he going to ensure that the deaths of Kenyans, especially in this time where Kenyans are going into the festive seasons, there will be a lot of activity along various roads, and as you can see, in the last few days, about 60 Kenyans have lost their lives in traffic accidents across various parts of the country. So the president yesterday was very categorical in his speech when he said that he will not allow any drivers to carry human beings like they were carrying a sack of cabbages, and for them to ensure that they are loyal to the rule of law and just to be faithful to the traffic signs. They're there for a reason, and no matter how fast or how important where you're going is, you will always get there when you use the speed limit that has been put there by the law for a specific reason.
Layla, before I let you go, just a quick look at the situation. Many are pointing a finger at NTSA, others a finger at the police who are on the roads watching over the cars and the matatus and PSVs in general. Question is, speaking to the residents, do you get a feeling of personal responsibility?
While traveling from Nairobi County all the way here, the presence of police and the NTSA officials is quite high. There are so many officials along the road, particularly today, maybe a day after this accident has occurred. Probably the fact that senior government officials, the PS of the Ministry of Transport is also in that delegation. They will be here. They will be addressing the media, and we will be raising certain concerns. The NTSA yesterday denying that they were actually chasing down that tractor or trailer that caused the accident. They are very visible along the road, but there are some people who say sometimes they're there, sometimes they are not. And how effective have they been? Those are some of the questions we shall be asking in terms of since they took their mandate to control road safety, have they reduced the number of deaths along the road? Yes. But then more with the number still going to the 2,000 plus figures, then there's more that needs to be done by just having local patrols along the highways and the police who have been told more than once before that instead of actually executing their mandate, some have been accused of engaging in corrupt activities. So those are some of the questions that we will be asking that entire team of the government delegation that is expected here anytime. We know they met the governor of Nakuru County early this morning. That meeting went on until 10 a.m. Probably they were just looking at how this project is going to be conducted, and we shall be telling you the nitty-gritties of the details of what they have decided in terms of both the county and national government in our subsequent bulletins. Gladys.
Leila Mohammed speaking to us from Sachangwan. Of course, that is along the Molo-Nakuru Road, where over 60 people have lost their lives in the last few days and scores injured in a hospital. And this has attracted, of course, the top leadership and a lot of questions being asked. And going into these festivities, what can be done to avert such loss of lives? Now, a family from Mahanga village in Emuhaya constituency, Vihiga County, is mourning the death of 9 members who died in the Kamukuywa accident along the Kitale-Webuye highway in Bungoma County. Now, the family had just attended a party in Matunda village and they were on their way back home before the incident, which claimed a total of 20 lives. NTV's Zacchaeus Mosame reports from Bungoma.
Jojo Kuso from Mahanga village in Emuhaya is mourning his wife, 2 children, his 2 brothers, a sister and his uncle who perished in the Kamukuywa tragedy. George was in the convoy that had attended a party in Matunda in Trans Nzoia County. He says the matatu driver who transported his family members who died on the spot is to blame, as he failed to slow down despite traffic police urging him to do so just meters before he got to the accident scene.
If our driver could have, I don't know what to say. He was stopped by a police officer. You know, he was flagged down, but for him, he refused to stop. The reason, not known. But I suspect maybe he thought he was going to be arrested. But he never knew why he was being stopped vigorously, because they are my friends. Fortunately, they are my friends who are there.
Wageni waliwasili karibu saa 8 hivi. Tukawakaribisha vyema. Tukakula, tukanywa. Sherehe ikaandaliwa mzuri. Tukamaliza.
Only 1 person survived in the matatu that had 17 people on board. Elsewhere, in Namarambi village in Webuye East constituency, a somber mood has engulfed the Douglas Kakai family after his death in the same accident. Douglas, who perished along with his 3 colleagues, was a cane loader with a tractor belonging to West Kenya Sugar Company. The matatu is said to have rammed the stationary tractor, leading to a chain of events that resulted into the many deaths. 28-year-old Douglas died while undergoing treatment at the Webuye Referral Hospital.
Tukafika hospitali, tukitafuta tuko hospitali kuna, alafu tukaenda tuko mojari. Tukafika mojari, tukatafuta tu, tukampata mtoto yangu, ako tu mojari.
Very painful. Hao walikuwa wameenda sherehe, wamemaliza sherehe zao, walikuwa wanatoka Tongaren wanarudi Vihiga. Alafu hiyo matatu yenye walikuwa nayo ikaingia kwa tractor ya miwa.
The Vihiga County government has transported 16 bodies that were identified by family members. The other bodies awaiting identification are at the Webuye Referral Hospital mortuary. Preliminary reports indicate that the driver who was driving a Nissan Matatu from Matunda with a group of people on board who had just left a party there failed to stop upon being stopped by the police, who had mounted a roadblock before he hit a tractor that had broken down, leading to the death of 17 people who were on board and 3 others, including Douglas Kakai. Now, that has left the police and even NTSA officials to urge drivers across the country to be vigilant, especially as the country prepares for Christmas celebrations. Zacchaeus Masame, NTV, Bungoma.
Well, nearly 90% of fatal road crashes are as a result of human error. That's according to the National Transport and Safety Authority. NTV's Trevor Ombija looks through the numbers and now reports that about 3,000 people die on the road every year, even as conflicting information arises as to how the most recent accidents in Sachangwan occurred.
The National Transport and Safety Authority now says its officers were not in pursuit of the 18-wheeler truck that caused the multiple car crash at the dreaded Sachangwan area. This even as eyewitnesses narrate a different story.
Dereva alikuwa anateremka kwa trailer. Kuteremka na NTSC ilikuwa pale. Sana sana huaga inasimama pale. Ikaanzia kumkibisha. Pengine imemsimamisha pale akataka kusimama. Ikaanzia kumkibisha.
Maybe the people who are reporting because they saw a vehicle following this vehicle could have been under the illusion that they were in pursuit, they were chasing this truck. No, that is not true. We want to ask the public, please don't speculate.
Meanwhile, NTSA records show that the number of fatalities to date has gone down marginally by about -4%. The figures may change since the year has not ended yet. Even then, the regulatory body reckons that some of the accidents could have been avoided if only road discipline was adhered to.
90% of these deaths are as a result of human error. And that is where we as road users come in. Every one of us has a responsibility.
Most of the deaths involved pedestrians at 1,029 in 2016 and 999 to date. Drivers and passengers too are high up in the list.
When a driver decides to overtake on a continuous yellow line at a bend in the dark, that decision can cost many lives, including that own driver's life.
There are several black spots in the country, one of them being Sachangwan. The notorious section stretches from Sobea, Salga, Miga, Sachangwan, Total Junction near Mau Summit Shopping Center to Kamara.
In a week's time, a tender to correct or to improve that section of Salga will be out. So a lot has been happening in the background because we believe ultimately the solution to Salga is to separate the grid so that vehicles that are going up do not have contact with the vehicles that are descending.
The National Transport and Safety Authority has launched Operation Fika Salama throughout this festive season, meant to net rogue drivers flouting even the slightest of road safety rules. Trevor Ombija, NTV.
While speaking on Jamhuri Day that was overshadowed by road accidents, President Uhuru Kenyatta sent a stern warning to motorists who flout traffic rules and end up killing Kenyans. Now, the head of state mourned the deaths of about 60 Kenyans killed in different road accidents since Saturday last week. Now, he has asked authorities to ensure the traffic rules are adhered to, especially during the upcoming festivities.
Let us be cautious on our roads during this festive season. Let us realize, especially those drivers of public transport, that you are not carrying cabbage, you are carrying the lives of people, and you need to take care. And equally, we take this opportunity to also instruct our police force that anybody caught flouting traffic rules, immediate and severe action must be taken against those particular individuals.
While speaking about responsibility, residents and businessmen living along the New Look Outer Ring Road in Nairobi have a difficult time making it across the 8-lane highway. The road lacks footbridges and bumps, which has made it a difficult task for people to cross it since its construction began in 2015. Outer Ring Road serves over 2.6 million city dwellers. NTV's Sharon Baranga with more.
Outer Ring Road is one of the main highways in Nairobi's Eastlands area. It is a vein that connects many to their homes, schools, hospitals and businesses. The 13-kilometer stretch that is being upgraded at a cost of 8 billion shillings has become a nightmare to many people, especially pedestrians. The safety and dignity of pedestrians, especially women and children, is at risk. Many are forced to fold their dresses up when jumping over the guardrails in the middle of the 8-lane highway.
Barabara imejengwa ikakuwa na ukuta ingine ya kufuka. Nikitaka kufuka inabidi nishike manguo ndio nifuke ngambo ile. Na pale mbele ambapo kuna watoto, kuna watu wazima, wataona hiyo sio show mzuri.
Josephine Kamene, a businesswoman, always has to prepare herself psychologically as she has to make several trips across the road, which also forces her to dig deep into her pocket to meet the costs of moving her goods from one side of the road to the other.
Mzigo yangu nahitaji iende ng'ambo ile. Na mzigo wenyewe nimemwangiwa na pesa. Pikipiki yenye itachukua inataka pesa. Mimi nataka matokeo ya pesa. Mwenye anavukisha kutoka pale anahitaji pesa. Sasa expenses imekuwa mingi kushinda ile pesa naenda kufanya.
Well, let's cross over to education matters, and the education CS, that is Fred Matiang'i, is currently in South B at the Kenya Literature Bureau offices, where they are launching the Nasahaya Kamusi, amongst other things, and we get to listen to him. As I am informed, he's already speaking. Let's listen in.
The success that we have seen in the work that you do. And since I usually do not lie, and I'm not very good at PR, I always say things as they are. I'm very grateful to the board for the work that you've done. Mr. Chairman, I want you to know that I am personally very satisfied with this board, very satisfied with the work that you do. I'm actually really delighted with the levels of competence in the board. But, we are a very competent board, and a lot of good things are happening. I am sure I cannot say the same about many organizations, around, even in my own ministry. But I'm grateful for the work that you have done as a board and how you have managed this institution. There's less drama and more work, which is what we all want to see. Because in a country where people spend a lot of time on useless things, instead of focusing on the things that we must do for our children and things that we must do for our country. And that's why I'm grateful, and the whole team of my colleagues who are here from the ministry understand this. My good friend Joan from KICT, my friend Njoroge from Semastea, every one of you, you understand that we have a job to do for our children, and then let's get the work done as we move forward. I'm grateful that you have achieved this, and Charles, thank you very much for the support of the Kenya Bureau of Standards. And I sincerely would like to urge both Kenya Literature Bureau and all of our organizations that let us develop a very strong, practical, institutional relationship with the Kenya Bureau of Standards. These good people are doing good stuff for our country. We must measure up to the standards of others. We are not competing against ourselves. We are competing against the rest of the world. So every time we wake up, we must work hard and ensure that we measure up to the expectations of others in our sector. We shouldn't look so much at our village, how well we are doing ourselves in our village. Our village is not as important now as the world. We are competing out there with everyone. And I agree with what the MD of Kenya Bureau of Standards has said. We must always keep an eye on global standards and how that affects us and what we are going to do. I'll talk about two other things before we leave. One, what we are doing with Kenya Literature Bureau, and as the PS said, KLB is going to be important, especially in the context of the new curriculum that we are developing. We are developing new learning materials. And capacities such as we have in KLB and the rest of the publishing sector in the country is going to be important in assisting us to develop the learning materials that we need. Therefore, my colleagues who are here from the publishing industry, across the board, we're not focusing on KLB because it is state-owned. We are also interested in your success, and we are interested in the success of your business. We will work together to ensure that we scale the heights and we do well. And we will be open and transparent in the manner in which we do these things. The era when people did things in corners and so on is long gone. Let's just be honest people who do straightforward stuff and move on to support our country. Because we are blessed to have a great country such as we do, and the least we can do as citizens of this country is serve it with dedication, commitment, and integrity, so that we deliver on the tasks that we've been given as a country. So I'm very grateful, and I want to assure all the stakeholders in the country that we are marching on with the new curriculum. Our friends at KICD have done a fantastic job. The process has been consultative as it can ever be. Of course, we have our own newly acquired disease in Kenya, this issue of consultation, because everyone thinks we should consult until the cows come home. I mean, I don't know when we will actually get to do the work, because it's consultation. You know how we waste time. Frankly, let me say this. We just have to be serious about the things we do. This nonsense that we have acquired in society, where we go for seminars, go for benchmarking trips, and so on and so forth, silly things where we waste money on things that we can actually discuss around the table. We can get researchers. We have Kenyans who have studied these things. We go out there, we call in experts, we have a conversation. We can have consultations for a whole week, 2 weeks, 3 months. And then we start getting into planes and flying all around the world. We go to India, to Korea, to wherever, in what we describe as benchmarking things. You know, that's how we waste money. That is how we have underdeveloped ourselves. We have insisted on things that don't help us. We will be straightforward and do the work we are supposed to do. We've worked very well. We formed a national team that was working on this, that brought everybody in the education sector on board. Everybody, and I mean everybody, including the unions. They sat throughout with us for the last 1 year. We have been working with them. So when I hear people saying, oh, we have not been consulted, I don't know what else they mean that needs to be done. But it's okay. Wait for consultations. Let us get work done. So as far as I'm concerned, yeah, we'll get some work done as you sit under a tree and go to hotels and so on for consultations. We've got some work to do, and that work is serving our children. The lives of our children are not waiting for us. You know, I don't know whether you guys get this. The lives of our children are not waiting for us. The world is not waiting for us. We are competing against the world. Go down here to Rwanda and see what they're trying to do. Look across the board. Look at the new innovations going on in Egypt and how they are reforming their curriculum. Those are the people we are competing against. Then you want us to sit under a tree. We meet here today in Nairobi, next week in Mombasa. Then we go, I don't know where. Then we go to Kisumu. We are just spending time in hotels instead of getting some work done in the process. We've done what we needed to do. We are fine. Let's get going. So I'm saying, let's get some work done. And as we go along, everyone is on board and we'll do what we must do. Secondly, and most importantly for all of us and for KLB, let me say this for the avoidance of doubt. We will not go back on the new textbook policy. We will not. If you are hoping that we will go back, please get it from me. We will not go back. We're not going back. If you are unhappy, as I said last time when I met the booksellers who are aggrieved, I'll be delighted to meet you in court, and then we can deal with each other there. Because you see, what's happening is very clear. I have been to schools without number in this country. I've walked into classrooms where I ask, in some cases I'm with the peers, in some cases I'm with the directors from the ministry, where I ask a question. I was in a school in Eastern Province, chemistry class, 46 students in the class. I asked them, how many of you have got the textbook? 2 textbooks, 2. Tell me, you are educators, how do you hope those children are going to pass? And yet there is a direct relationship between learning outcomes and access to instructional material. And in the case of Kenya, let me say this for the avoidance of doubt. We don't have a shortage of resources in the education sector. We have been given money. We pumped in over 300 billion to the free primary education and free secondary education sector since the program started. By now, there is no good reason, or as President Kibaki would put it, there is no good earthly reason why we don't have a 1-to-1 ratio in our schools. And there is evidence. I can tell you this, my brothers and sisters. There is evidence. When you go to some of these national schools where principals have been faithfully buying books, they don't know what to do with the books. They have so many books. Many of these schools achieved the 1-to-1 ratio a long time ago. So I go to schools. If I go to school A and find that every student in that school has got a textbook, what is the explanation for a different situation in school B, other than corruption, theft, conniving, and collusion between those middlemen and the principals and so on who are involved? We will not put the lives of our children in the hands of quangles, profiteers, thieves, and all that. We are responsible people. As parents, God has given us children as gifts so that we raise them up. We cannot be given resources by the exchequer, and then we now get somewhere in the middle and engage in conversations with people whom we want to impress and make happy at the expense of our children. We will deal directly with publishers. And publishers, you will never have dead stock. That is a good news. And your business is going to thrive. And now, it's upon everybody to change their business model. But we have changed ours, our way of engagement as government. And we are not going back. I need to say this for the avoidance of doubt. If anyone thinks we are going to change this, please, this is your 2017 message. We are not going back. We want books in the hands of our children in school. That is how they are going to learn. That's how it will affect the learning outcomes. That's how we will know that learning is actually happening. So when the Form 1s report to school on 9th of January, my good friends are working here, and I'm so happy. KLB, I love you with all my heart, because I am so happy to hear that you are saying there's no Christmas this time. When wakati wa kazi, my friend, let's get some work done. Christmas to mandazi tutakula siku ingine. Let us get some work done. No Christmas. We make sure that we have the books ready for schools by the time the Form 1s are reporting on 9th of January. That is how countries are built. All those countries we admire, we keep talking about, that are doing well in the North and Southeast Asia. They just didn't happen. People made sacrifices, and people demonstrated commitment and love for their country. They made sure that the resources they had went to the right direction. We in Kenya should be grateful and thankful to God. The resources we have should go to the right direction. Every shilling we are given in the Ministry of Education should go to the child, the Kenyan child. You know, we can't be adults who steal wealth from our children. You know, we're making money, we're taking it away from our children. That is not responsible behavior. So I am happy that you guys have suspended your Christmas. You know, in the education sector, we are used to sacrifices recently. I've been waking up at 3 a.m. in the morning to go to containers, to look at exams, and all around weekend and all that, making sure that everything goes right. Because somebody must make a sacrifice, my friends. It's not going to happen on its own. We must make a sacrifice. And everyone makes a sacrifice. Our president makes sacrifices. He spends long hours looking after so much business for the country. So it's time for us also to make sacrifices. And KLB, I'm grateful that you have agreed to make the sacrifices that you must make. Lastly, I assure you, on behalf of my colleagues from the ministry, we will continue to support you. Whatever you need us to do, we will continue to support you. Yes, as Victor said, I heard the stories and other publishers were thinking, because we, as government, we own two publishers. We own KLB and we own Jomo Kenyatta Foundation. And everyone was asking us questions about accountability and competition and whether or not we are going to open this up. And we said we have no problem with competition because we know our capacity. We know what we are capable of. And we are ready to compete today, tomorrow, and any other time. Bring it on. And you see, we don't have a problem. We still do well. So my good friends, this is the right stuff that we need to do for our country. I'm grateful that this is happening. I have seen some of the Form 1 books. I'm very excited. I have seen the thousands of the Form 1 textbooks that are ready. And my joy will be on 9th in the morning when every Form 1 child reports to school. They sign in and they get 6 textbooks of the core subjects each. And they go to class to study, so that we avoid situations like the ones we have seen in schools before with my brother Kipsang here, where we turn up and we find a teacher in class, he has got a copy and one student has a copy. And that's a school where we have been sending money to every year to buy books. So let us be good people. You teach, we will bring you the books. And that's a very good arrangement. Yeah, we'll bring the books to you, and then teach our children. You see, it's very easy. Because since it's looking like it's a problem for you to buy the books, let us take that burden from you. We know where to get the books. We know where KLB is, we know where Oxford is, we know where Moran is, where East African Educational Publishers, we know where these publishers are. We'll go there ourselves, get the books for you, bring them to school. Sasa nyinyi fundisha watoto. Then so that then our children, so that then our children don't have a situation where, like we've had before, they don't have books and so on, and we expect them to pass. How are they going to pass? Because I can talk about this until the cows come home. I'll talk about it another time. Education is supposed to be an equalizer. We are supposed to deal with some of the challenges we have of marginalization in our country through education. You know, good people, when you see people shooting their mouths around here about some of these policy things we are saying and criticizing them, parroting this, parroting the other one, they are not deep thinkers. They don't think very deeply about some of these things. Because each one of us who are seated here around the table here, we are here first of all by the grace of God, and secondly because we went to school. It's a fact. Someone gave us an opportunity. Why are we denying our children the opportunity? So if I have books in Alliance, I want books in a school in Kirinyaga, I want books in Mandera, I want books in Turkana, I want books in Lamu. Because that child who's going to Lamu Secondary School should have the same textbook the Form 1 student in Alliance has got in their hands. Then you are beginning to deal with marginalization. You can't have a situation where the national schools, because the principals there work hard, they buy the books. You go to Nairobi school, they have so many books, they have achieved a 1-to-1 ratio, but Mpeketoni girls doesn't have books. So how do you hope that child from Mpeketoni will finally compete with the one from Kenya High? And yet we want to give them equal opportunities. The teachers who are teaching there were trained in the same class at Kenyatta University or in the same class at Moi University. The challenges now come in the facilities we have availed to them. These ones at Kenya High, we will give them all the books. The principal there maybe is responsible. The board is working hard. Everyone is buying a book. You go there, the book pupil ratio is 1-to-1. In Mpeketoni is a different story. Or in some other school in Lamu is a different story. Or in Taita Taveta. So the best way to deal with this is make sure that the instructional materials get to all schools in an equal measure. The teachers were trained in the same place. We want to reduce this marginalization. And as I said when we were doing Form 1 selection, our new policy, and you'll see when the government rolls this out, our new focus on county and sub-county schools is a game changer. Completely. Because in addition to the books available, we now start putting in resources to actually build the facilities that are not there. So that in our new infrastructure or grants, we go to the county schools and have the laboratories there. You know, so that there is a biology lab there, there's a chemistry lab there, same as there is a biology lab and chemistry lab at Mangu High School. That way, then you are beginning to move towards dealing with marginalization in the education sector. This is what we need to understand. We're not doing these things for fun. And when you see people shooting their mouths around, it's because they don't think deeply about these things. We have lived this way for a long time. We have affected our children, and we want to continue doing it that way because status quo is good for us. What about our children? Status quo is good for you, but what about our children? Are you thinking about our children? Are you thinking about our parents? And then we ask parents every other time, oh, book harvest, bring us books. Book harvest everywhere. Bring us books, which you don't account for. We don't have a system of accountability. There is no standardization. You can as well receive all those books when they are brought during the book harvest, take them to the local bookshop and get money back. Then next year have another book harvest. We're placing burdens on parents and therefore making education expensive and inaccessible. So I want someone to face us as government with an argument, not with pettiness, with an argument, and say why what we are doing is not right. And you will see for yourselves. Slowly, in another year or 2 years, you will begin to see the evidence of this policy. You will begin to see the impact of it in the learning outcomes, in the performance of our children in schools, as it were. So, my brothers and sisters, we have an opportunity to serve our country, to serve our people, to raise our children irresponsibly. Let us do it. And let's not think about ourselves, what is comfortable for us. Let's think about our children. That's what matters. And I'm grateful that we're walking in that direction. We will continue to support you. And KLB, you are our champions. I am very proud of you. You are our champions in this matter. And let's drive that direction. Please remain focused. Let's get the work done for the sake of our children and for the sake of our country. God bless you. Now, we have an important assignment here. Hey, come along.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Waziri. Kwa sasa tuko tayari kuzindua kamusi ambazo tumejitayarisha nazo leo. Ningependa kuomba kwenye jukwaa.
We have been listening to the Cabinet Secretary for Education, Fred Matiang'i, who's been speaking from South Sea at the Kenya Literature Bureau, where he is attending a ceremony where the KLB is being presented with the ISO 2015 certification, and of course the unveiling of the Nasaha ya Kamusi. Now, he has touched on various vital things that have to do with education, especially going into the new year. He's spoken about the new curriculum taking effect next year. He's also touched on the new textbook policy, which he says they are not going back on. Anyone who has a problem with it, they shall meet in court. And just to remind you that the new textbook policy is actually that public schools will be getting books directly from the government come next year. And this is a deliberate move by the government to lock out cartels and middlemen who collude with school heads to siphon billions of shillings. Now, this means schools will no longer receive capitation funds for buying textbooks from January next year at the onset of the free secondary, or rather free-day secondary school education and the new curriculum. And as he has made it absolutely clear, there will be no discussion about that, and that is a way going forward. Now, of course, he has said this is important in leveling the playing field for all students come exam time, and of course, even as they cover their curriculum. Well, we'll touch base with our reporter Sharon Baranga later on, even as she gives us more details about that ceremony. But for now, we are taking stock. It has been quite an eventful year, 2017, and a lot has happened. Apart from the long electioneering period, a lot more has also happened, and would like to just touch base and look at the hits and misses, and of course what it is that we need to think about going into the new year. And to help me have that discussion with me in studio is Shefo Okore, political analyst, and I have Gladys Gachanja, who is a programs manager at the Kenya Human Rights Commission. We were expecting Jarvis Bigambo, a governance expert. We are still awaiting on him so that at least we can have the gender balance. Well, if he doesn't make it, we tried. We tried. So, ladies, off the education conversation, do you think the education sector has achieved much in this year, 2017, Shefo?
I'm skeptical, and as always, I think I'm just a skeptical person. Like 2017 has been my year of skepticism, and I'm skeptical because I've spoken to people who are supposed to engage this new system, the new curriculum, all these new changes that are coming on board. I mean, they're all nice on paper, but they will tell you that even the capacity that was supposed to be impacted on the teachers to be able to fully implement is because it goes directly to the teachers, has not been fully done. We talk about consultation that has been done with the people who are specifically professionals in this fora, right? They haven't been consulted. Like, all these things have been happening with or without their consultation, right? Somebody like Wandi Njoya has been very vocal about the education system and the entire overhaul of it, and bringing on board all these other new things. And she's spoken about the lack of consultation. She's spoken about the lack of, inclusion of other people on board. And now we're hearing all these other amazing things that are supposed to happen. And I'm wondering, how does this help that person who still does not have a basic thing like a classroom, right? Because I love that we want to empower children in public schools, but I doubt our sincere commitment to doing that as long as you have public officials who don't consume public services. Because for me, I think they always speak about this flowery, beautiful thing, which I want to happen because I want children in public schools to be able to get that. But then we hear of scandals of even just getting textbooks right? We hear scandals of even government is supposed to pay part of their fees, and then that fees doesn't come forth, right? We hear of teachers not being paid, and now they can't be in schools and nobody wants to listen to them. I doubt whether we want to do all these things. I'm very skeptical.
All right, Diana, it has been an interesting year, and some would look at the performance that has also been something that seems to be different from the years before. Do you think this is something you can rate an A?
So on the results, I don't know. At the beginning of the year, initially we were all excited that the grading system seems to have changed, and all of a sudden the people who had attained after the KCSE the mean grade of C+ to then go to university was the capacity that our public universities can take. So that would be, I don't know, because if you compare even other countries, rightly the people who are in academics is a certain percentage. Then there are all these other talents. So initially we all thought, all these giants, you've been stealing exams and all that. So it was exciting. I don't know whether it can be sustained. Thereafter, then we moved into reforms of universities. All, they used to be called branches, like
the campuses, the satellite campuses,
yes, the satellite campuses were also closed, were shut down as a result. There was some form of regulation, and part of it is what resulted in the strike by the university lecturers because of the lack of consultation. And as we make that transition, I am worried what we are doing with the rest of the population. Where do they go for the skills that they need then to earn their livelihoods? Because they're coming from this curriculum that is 844, that was academic and results, the national exams oriented. After that, how do you define who you become at a time when we are struggling? But Gladys, I was a parent in this year's KCP. And then Matiang'i comes and announces the results very early. And you know the range of your child. Then you look at the results, and in a school for science where people have 80s and 90s, nobody has above 50. Okay? So then you have to deal with that trauma of what happened to your children. Or did the school rig for them to get this? Could the teacher have gotten it so wrong? Then later you realize there are anomalies in the marking system. Why rush such a process? This is a process that needs to be verified. It is a country where we've been socialized to take that final exam very seriously. So we are now dealing with children who are tormented as a result. I'm not sure whether all schools were able to push, like this particular school pushed, to get their results corrected. In the midst of all that, as people were preparing for exams, and you know, you can't just come at the end and announce something. There were struggles in certain schools where in the process of just the inspections that he's speaking about, you go to an area, you're now a cabinet secretary, clearly we thought they are not political, but you're political. Then you go and expose candidates by your visit to riots, and then they have to go through this grading. After that, I am not sure, I still think a review of these results need to happen. Immediately after that, and with all these questions, then we see a very sharp difference in the performance from last year for KCPE. Generally to say, this was a very good year for students, they studied very well, they passed. I'd be skeptical. I'm not sure whether that is really where we are. After that, during this entire period, universities were shut down. Okay? Those are students as well. Life is not for primary or secondary or thereafter. Throughout, we have to work with these people. And the minute we start looking at education as a whole, continuous, I'm still learning to date somehow. The day I stop learning, I die. So then we can't, I am a skeptical or even...
Okay, I'm hoping for some optimism because we need to start somewhere or at least point some fingers in the right direction. So are we saying we're seeing great ideas, great intentions being executed wrongly? Shifo?
I agree. Great ideas. You couldn't have put it even more perfectly for me. Great ideas, but the intent is doubted. because of what we have seen before, right? And it is difficult for people to trust in someone saying, we're going to do this now and we're going to do this here. Yet it's the same thing that has been repeated all the while. If you want to do something for people, go ahead and do it. You have the capacity, you have the mandate, you have the resources, you have support. Do it. So you don't even have to hold a presser and tell people, I am going to do this. If I am going to be good, Gladys, I just turn up to be good. I don't have to write you an email and say, Gladys, I decide to be good from Tuesday 7 p.m. to Monday, right? I don't do that. It is an action we are looking for. And that action is what people are doubting, because we will speak. Talk is cheap. We will talk about these things. And you're hearing from her, who's a parent. I know so many of my friends also whose children are in public schools, and same children in private schools. And the struggle is now everywhere, right? Because the more people are pushed to know that they do not fit in a public system that doesn't serve them, we tend to move now to the private sector. How many of us can afford the private sector? It's like privatized health. How many of us can afford that, right? I wish the intention was as good as the words being uttered.
Okay, Diana, something else stood out in the education sector, the performance of girls compared to boys. Worth celebrating?
Oh, wow. I think it is worth celebrating. Definitely worth celebrating. That finally we are getting to parity. And this again can be attributed to a campaigns that have been run for years. Sensitizing girls, parents, you need to invest. And it just goes to show that indeed we are equal. We just have not had the same equal opportunity. The minute the girls are getting equal opportunities as boys, then they are competing at par. So that's definitely something worth celebrating.
All right, Shifa, before we take our first short break, the boy child seems to be sleeping. It's also a concern, do you think?
First of all, I hate that terminology, boy child, because I think the people who refer to themselves as boy child don't even understand what it means, right? A boy child, really, we need to just Google definition of it. It is something very derogatory that I don't think anybody wants to refer to themselves as a boy child. Meanwhile, I don't think they are sleeping. I think we need to question what men are doing to empower young men to become equally as good as younger women. That is the question, that's the conversation. Because it's easy to say, oh, because a girl has made it, so a boy failed because the girl has more resources, the girl has more opportunities, which is not true. Women and young girls have had to fight twice or thrice as hard to get to where they are. For us to be able to celebrate women and younger girls now where they are, it has been a journey that started long ago. It didn't start yesterday. So all I want to say is I don't like the idea of people taking away the shine from the girl child just because she is where she is and by merit. I think it's ridiculous. We need to ask the men in society, what are they doing equally to empower the quote-unquote boy child to get to that level of the girl child? Because there's enough space for all of us to thrive. There is enough space for all of us to do good. There cannot be a mental scarcity type of thinking where you think if a girl is making it, so a boy has to not make it. That is useless.
All right, we are taking stock of 2017, great conversations, and of course other areas we need to look at, including the recent increase in road accidents and of course yesterday's Jamhuri Day celebrations. Stay with us. This is NTV Today. My name is Gladys Gachanja. you for staying with NTV today. This is the second hour and my name is Gladys Gachanja. We are taking stock of a year that has been different sectors, different topics that have been covered and different industries also affected by the different happenings of the year. And to help me do that is Shefa Okore, political analyst, and we have Diana Gishengo, programs manager from the Kenya Human Rights Commission. Ladies, we touched on education. Now let's touch about something that seems to be squeezing itself into the agenda of 2017 and unfortunately it is the accidents. Now we have lost over 60 people in less than 5 days. Your thoughts, Shefa?
Heartbreaking, completely and totally. And you know, you want to blame someone and then you want to start with, you know, the easiest person to blame, who is NTSA or the government. But then also we have to ask ourselves, the people behind the wheel, what are they doing? Because you see, society cannot protect itself, society cannot grow, society cannot stop itself or immune itself from these kinds of things if it's not responsible, right? So as much as there is the blame for the people involved who are supposed to ensure that, you know, we are observing the road signage and all these things, but what are we as individuals doing? Because we all know how people drive in this country. It is not a secret. We just have no sense of discipline, we have no sense of respect of the law, we have no sense of respect of anything on the road. And we forget that road users are not just people in vehicles. There's pedestrians, there's people driving motorbikes, there's people riding bikes, right? There's people, children walking, there's even animals now. How are we responsible for all this? I mean, this is unfortunate. This is so many lives lost in less than a week.
Yeah.
How do we even talk about? And Kenya is known for these kinds of accidents in certain months of the year, so we are trying to maybe just make it a normal thing, like, oh, you know, maybe in December, October, people just die. But it's not that. It's just that people don't learn from history. And there are no consequences for even just the person who, you know, double parks or just comes and overtakes on the wrong side and they're let to go. And these are the same people behind the wheel on highways causing all these accidents, and we are losing lives.
Diana, are we seeing the ripple effect of affirming bad behavior? Because this is the time people are rushing to get to where they need to go, so corruption comes in those that flout rules, and those that are supposed to be making sure they are not flouted are sucked in.
You're very right, Gladys. The road accident and the recklessness is a reflection of what we've become as a country. It is okay if you ask the people who use public vehicles here in the city, they have identified the best of the matatus. They're the best in flouting rules, the best in overlapping, so that somehow they'll get to their office fastest. So then you've affirmed them, and every other driver then aspires to be like those rogue matatu drivers. That way you'll have a clientele. If you're not doing that, then your bus will be there forever. In addition to that, or as a result, the bodies charged with the responsibility of ensuring road safety, okay? And this is not just the NTSA. There are those who are responsible for our highways. There's a Ministry of Roads that is responsible for the design. We need, some of them are as a result of potholes, bad road design and all that. Nobody is investing in that because it's not yet my chance. And is it a priority? Not yet, okay? The vehicles we have, it is okay for me to import a car even if it's past the years that are recommended, backdate it, so I'll have a bad car on the road. That should not be motorable at that particular moment. So all this culminating together has resulted in this, and therefore for me the review and the changes would have to be very, very comprehensive. Look at the bus in Mombasa, a school bus that had rusted to that level, and somebody felt that it was okay to carry a school child there. Really, how? What else can we say? We've just rotten as a society, and that rot right now is being felt in the way of road accident. And I must say, I don't feel people are outraged enough to do the right thing. There was a time when the Mishuki rules came on board, there was a level of consciousness of road safety. Guys would take up steps to stop even cabinet secretaries who are overlapping. People would alight from public vehicles that flouted rules, but all that has been lost because increasingly we've just gotten to a culture of bad values being celebrated.
Okay, Shefa, earlier on we watched the situation on Outer Ring Road where people are literally going over the rails as opposed to them having, you know, where they can walk and where pedestrians can actually use the road. In such a case, somebody is responsible for that and putting somebody in harm's way.
Yes. Yes, somebody is responsible. People constructing this road, what are they thinking? Because I've used Outer Ring Road, there is literally no pedestrian crossing at all. If you have to get from one side of the road to another, it's a death trap. You're walking into a death trap because the cars are speeding. There's no way of somebody just getting across. So you're wondering, while we were constructing this, didn't somebody survey this? And someone said somewhere, okay, we need to put in measures or places or stops for cars to, you know, slow down, let somebody cross. It doesn't make sense. It's like we go out and construct a road, right? As if road users are only motorists. That was what I was saying. Road users, not just motorists, because imagine there are also children crossing the road, right? There are people trying to get to work. There are women trying to sell their products. Like we've seen a woman just crossing over the rails. There are men also trying to get to wherever they're going. It's a mess because you're wondering, somebody sat somewhere and okayed this and said, this is fine. Let them have this road. How do they use this? Roads are not just for cars. Roads are for human beings who are also walking. How do they walk? How do they use this road now? Without any way or without any safety measure to ensure they cross it. Somebody needs to be responsible. And that somebody, I know is publicly known. The people who constructed this, they're just out there. You can even Google them. But will they be held accountable? No. Because I know right now there are people who've been killed on that very road by speeding motorists because there's nowhere for them to cross. So you're risking your life crossing and nothing will be done. It's a terrible thing.
Diana, we're going into the festivities. Personal responsibility is important. We always have those campaigns about not drinking and driving. On a personal level, what should Kenyans think about going to the festivities?
I think everybody needs to first think about themselves. So your safety, it has been cliched, but first think about your safety. So if you're crossing the road, if it means, unfortunately because of the oversight, if it means going a longer distance to get the safest crossing, if possible, let's all do that. The drivers, the level of caution has to be heightened, and we are told to always think you're the only one with sobriety at any given point. Let's think about the others who are the other road users, the motorists, the motor riders, everybody, and even those like border riders. Let's not just rush out for money. Safety, if there's a way I can emphasize safety first, then that is what you must be drivers doing. And the bodies that are responsible. But it means doing a values inter, so that then these are bodies that you have. You know, like the way we vet people for years. We never get it right. We try to look for somebody with your NTSA, this had to be somebody who really understands. Unfortunately, they're the ones overlapping.